Just click on the button to move from one slide to another. And it's recording. Please.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for your patience. Try as I may, technology finds a way to stymie me from time to time. But we got to figure it out, and I'm excited to be here. My name is Aaron Fields. I'm the Director of Horticulture at Eden Green Technology. I've been working for Eden Green for about 4 years. I came on board from several other controlled environment agriculture companies. Right before this, I was in Brooklyn working for Gotham Greens, had a greenhouse on top of Whole Foods. It's pretty cool. And I enjoyed it quite a bit, but I was looking for a challenge. Still pretty close with the people at Gotham, but I'm happy to be here working with something a little more innovative, challenging, and fun. When I got to Eden Green, I was fascinated and very curious as to what was happening, and it was an easy decision to come and be part of their team. Eden Green Technology has gone through quite a path to get to where it is today, and we're very proud of that path. We're very proud of everything that we've done. As with a lot of companies, we started with an idea, changed our idea, came back, and finally have a winning combination of how to help everyone else around the country and the world grow food sustainably and locally. So thanks for your time, and I hope you enjoy this and the next slideshow. Essentially what Eden Green Technology is a vertical farm inside of a greenhouse. And at first glance, that doesn't make a lot of sense to people. When we think vertical farm, we think indoor in a warehouse, we think trays stacked up, lots of LEDs, a closed building. And that technology is good because it allows you to grow without the effects of the outside climate and nature, and be really high density in your output. But it ignores one of the best and free sources of energy in the sun, which is what plants evolve with and what they grow the best with, in my opinion. And so how do we get that density, that vertical aspect, and still use the ability of the sun? Well, you can't stack trays in a greenhouse because you're going to block out that sunlight and need that supplemental light anyway. So we have to go vertical in another way that allows that light to penetrate. Very similar to a forest and canopy growth. Outdoors, you're going to see sun penetration through our vertical vines. Those vines are at the heart of our technology. They're what really make us tick and what makes all those things that you talked about work together. It's taken a lot of work to get there, but at the end product, what we really came up with is an idea that is financially profitable and sustainable and easy to scale, which was the point of everything, right? It's one thing to be able to do something fantastic and grow the biggest, best head of lettuce or tomato you've ever seen, but if you can't replicate that, and if it's not affordable, it doesn't make any sense. So that was part of our goal, and we're happy to be bringing that to everyone today. As with any other company, we had a very fateful beginning, and I can't claim that I wasn't a part of that. This company was founded by a pair of brothers, Jacques and Eugene Van Buren. They are from South Africa, had a very successful construction and engineering company in South Africa. They were very big into giving back to their community, supporting their community, and did a lot to promote their business being a part of their community being better. And in that idea, they would host several events, and they would give back through food drives and different fundraisers. The video that is on here, we couldn't get it to play because it needs an internet login, but you see Jacques and Eugene here. That's Eugene. They're both here today. They're sitting up front, so please take some time to say hi. They're amazing gentlemen. But in this video, you see Eugene tell the story of what happened to them. And basically they were hosting an event. They had a bouncy house there. Kids were running around there, handing out candy, being engaged. And one of these little boys, about 3 years old, kept running up. I think he's 5 years old, kept running up and taking some of the food, some of the candy, sticking in his pockets and running away. And something that was really cute at first became very curious. And so Eugene went and asked the teacher, why does this little boy keep ordering all the food? There's plenty, he can have what he wants. And the teacher told him that the little boy was taking the food home to his sister because it wasn't his day to eat today. He had to bring it home to his 3-year-old sister so she could have food today. And I've heard that 1,000 times. It still gets me. Eugene and Jacques both get very emotional about that. That's a life-changing event when you're there to provide something and that you think is frivolous or enjoyable, and it's so necessary to somebody else. And they immediately changed their life. They handed over their company management. They went to work. They got innovative with pretty much no experience in horticulture. They taught themselves. They're both brilliant. And they went to work and got in a garage and tried to develop something. Their idea was, we don't want to do this here. We don't want to do this just here. We want to do this everywhere. This is a problem everywhere. The more they read, the more motivated they got. And they created over 10 years of blood, sweat, and tears, as it may be, an innovative system that we see now in our greenhouse in Dallas. You can see a mock-up of this in the back of the room. I'm sure most of you saw that when you walked in. It was a long journey for them, and they sacrificed a lot of their time and money and effort just to make this happen, but they believe it to this day. They're out there every day trying to make this better, and I'm proud to work with them and be part of their company. They brought the technology to the United States and came to Dallas with some help of some investors and went on building a greenhouse. And so right now in Cleveland, Texas, we have a 1 acre, about 45,000 square feet, startup greenhouse. It's a good greenhouse. It's a proof of concept, essentially. So we prove out the technology there. It's a sandbox right now, which is fantastic for a guy like me because I get to play with all the toys. But that was set up. It holds almost 200,000 plant spots. And it's equivalent to about 26 acres of normal lettuce growth, and it grows year round. So that's on 1 acre. We'll get into some of the numbers later, but that greenhouse was the first fruition of the dream of the Van Buren brothers. So take a minute to say hi to them and pick their brain a little bit. They'd love to talk to you. So one of the reasons that greenhouse exists in Cleburne is because it's close to a market, it's close to DFW. You can work with a local community on the outskirts of the region and still empower the whole region. But why do we need a greenhouse there? Why do we need CEA? For everyone here, you're some way involved in CEA, growing vegetables, growing produce, and growing food for everyone. Some of these numbers really hit home. It's a lot to take in, but please take a minute to look them over. If you're not familiar with them, it's something that really drives us. And these numbers keep... Oh, sorry, I'm on camera. I keep forgetting about that. Sorry, everybody. I'm moving around. The numbers on here reflect some of the reasons that we do what we do. Lettuce is in high demand. Everybody has a salad once in a while, a burger with lettuce on it. Very few people don't eat lettuce in one way, shape, or form, or a leafy green in one way, shape, or form. It's a huge market. And I'm sure most of you know all that lettuce comes from pretty much the same region in the salad bowl in California. I've been there, I worked out there, I've seen these fields. I spent 2 years doing breeding trials for Syngenta in Yuma, from Salinas down to Yuma. It's a real thing, man. It's everywhere. It's crazy. And it was very interesting, but also very humbling when you think about the way it's grown, the way it's harvested, the way it's watered, very inefficient, very intense, and very unfood safe, which that's a huge part of our industry and what we do, both at Eaton Green and in CEA. So all those recalls that happened, I've been involved with some of them at Gotham Greens. At one point, we were the only romaine lettuce on the shelf in Whole Foods because we were the only ones that were grown, not affected by that outbreak from Colorado. And so CEA is going to have a place because of this, and Eaton Green wants to be part of the empowerment of why CEA succeeds all over the world. A lot of demand is going to be there. There's some hot things going on right now. I know some of you spoke about strawberries and mushrooms. Berries are huge. While we can't do mushrooms in our greenhouse, we can do strawberries very effectively. One of the best things about our greenhouse is that it's versatile. It flexes with whatever you want to grow. It's outdoor climate agnostic, and it provides whatever temperature set points you want specific to your crop. And we'll get a little more of that technology in a little bit here. So everyone's heard about supply chain. I was at another conference in Charlotte earlier this week. Supply chain, supply chain, supply chain. We all know what it is. It's broke. It's real. It's happening. Nothing you can do about it, right? I don't know if we have any John Steinbeck fans, but I'm a big fan of East of Eden. It's one of my favorite books. And even back in that book, The star of the book, Adam Trask, tried to send lettuce in an icebox on a train over the mountains, and it didn't work then. But we still keep trying to do that. And as far as technology has taken us, we're still very bad at that. Regardless of supply chain problems, there are significant amounts of food that is lost on its way to market, and the produce that does get there doesn't taste good, it's not nutritious, and it loses a lot of its integrity. Most Americans are not familiar with what a fresh head of lettuce tastes like, albeit whatever brand, because it's not going anywhere near where you live. These numbers are real, again, a lot to take in. Part of the reason that CEA succeeds in helping with the supply chain is because you can build these greenhouses almost anywhere, right? And that's what we're trying to do. So not only do you improve the supply chain, but you shrink that chain. Everything's right here. That has tons of benefits. The local benefit is immense, and it carries a lot of value with consumers, retailers, and restaurants. So I know where it came from. I know that it's safe. I can go look at it if I want to. And I know that it's fresh. Our lettuce gets to that store in less than 48 hours. That is one of our big arguing points, is that we can do that. And a lot of good CEA companies for lettuce can do that. Any greenhouse producer can do that. If they're in that market, they can get it to that store, to that consumer in less than 2 days. That is a huge value, not only for shelf life and efficiency and cost, but also because it's better. They're going to remember that. People remember. I remember that. It's fantastic. My daughter loves spinach, and I don't think she's ever had spinach that we didn't grow in a greenhouse somewhere, right? And she's always picking it right off the vine in our greenhouse. It's safe, it's clean, and it's delicious. And all that comes back to fixing this supply chain, and that's something we want to be a part of. And when that supply chain breaks, everything breaks with it. As we've seen, you lose food, but people also go hungry. So there's a value lost, which is disturbing and sad. There's something like millions of pounds of tomatoes that were buried last year, just buried, and everything else that's thrown away you probably don't want to hear about, or they don't talk about. We talk about, steel and construction costs and things like that, but the food was just tossed. Couldn't get it to where it needed to go. A lot of times it wasn't just because there wasn't a truck, it was because the timing was off. You can't really flex with your fresh produce too much. And so it's got to go when it's got to go, and you're not ready, or they're not ready because somebody's backed up and somebody didn't do their job right. And that is waste. So not only are we wasting food, but people are hungry. There's a real problem with hunger in the United States of America, one of the richest countries in the world, and we can't even feed the people that live here. And part of that is because we are not really paying for the process of which we need to get that food, and we're not doing that process close to where people want that food. And we want to help solve that issue also.
You're here.
Thank you. And the business part of this is obviously a big deal. We want to scale faster. We want to be profitable. We want to make sure that you have the right tools to do this efficiently, fast, and effectively. We do this through a modular setup, and you'll see that a little later in this presentation. But this is something that a lot of people have worked on for us. It's been a significant trial. I came in, I knew how to do lettuce. I knew how to grow lettuce hydroponically. I'd done it in several regions across the country. Once I figured out this system, which was a long learning curve, Jacques will probably tell you I'm still figuring it out. But once we did that, then there's all these other things that go into it that we don't always think about, right? I'll hit on the propagation production side a little later in my other presentation, but there's SOPs and there's business aspects, and it's not just sales, it's developing a market, and those are things we didn't have. A while back, you wouldn't have heard of us at all, and our marketing director, Allison, is amazing, and she has done great work to get us at the top of searches online, to get us in front of people, to be the name on the tip of everyone's tongue when you think CEA, not only in DFW, but across the country right now. And we're really working to get that out there, but that takes a team. And so the lettuce, the greens, they grow themselves. And while it's definitely a lot of management, a lot of work, it takes a team to do this. And that team brings you all of the aspects you see on this slide right here, and we're all very proud of it. Here's a little comparison. I don't like to knock anyone. I have thoughts on vertical, I have thoughts on traditional greenhouse, and field growing, and organic, and local, and all this stuff. I'll talk to you off on any of those things. Call me sometime, we'll chat if you have time. And I'd love to talk about it, but it's going to take everyone. Like Brian alluded to earlier, we don't all want to eat tomato salads and lettuce all day, right? We need everybody. While we can grow over 200 varieties in our greenhouse, you can't do all those varieties in the same greenhouse at the same time. I need everyone's help, right? We're going to need small greenhouses and large greenhouses, urban greenhouses and suburban greenhouses. We're going to need vertical farms for certain things. You're not going to put mushrooms in a greenhouse. Those that grow mushrooms know why. And your large scale greenhouses are still going to serve a purpose. I'm not going to be able to put out the volume of tomatoes on 1 acre of my greenhouse that they can put out in 12 acres because tomatoes are already a vine crop. And all of us need to work together. There is no silver bullet, but there is a solution. And I'm very excited to be a part of that with Eaton Green. The other greenhouses you can see here, some of the comparisons, you can argue these up and down. The fact of the matter is the industry is still very, very young, in my opinion. And I say young when I talk about standardization. I spoke with a lot of people earlier this week about how if you walk into a mum greenhouse in Maine and a mum greenhouse in Arizona, they're going to look exactly the same. They all get the same pots, they get mostly the same soil, they grow things the same way, the same irrigation, the same set points, all that stuff. If you walk into a hybrid greenhouse anywhere in the country, it doesn't look like any place else that's a hybrid greenhouse. We're not working together as an industry yet, we're not a conglomerate yet. That takes away our buying power, and I'm trying to help dispel the cloak and dagger part of this. I want everybody to get along. Eaton Green's an open book in that. So while I know that we are better than both of these methods in a variety of ways, I still want to work with them so that we can all learn together and get better, because it's going to take everybody to do this. Now, this is the heart of our technology and the exciting part to me. It's what made me want to work here. We can put plants in these vines. We call them vines. They go 18 plant spots high. There are 36 plant spots on each vine. And that adds up to our 200,000 plant spots in our greenhouse right now. The reason it works, typically in a greenhouse, you're going to see a stratification of your climate. Yeah, as the air rises, it gets hotter and it rises and your humidity moves out. It's part of the management of that greenhouse, venting, cooling, moving air through there. So you have a stratification, you have layers of that. So it wouldn't make any sense to put lettuce or any crop high up in that area unless you have a tomato crop where you manage those different zones. So the first problem that we had is if you're going to stack lettuce like this and leave it out under solar radiation, you have to control the climate a little better. And you do that by focusing on the microclimate. Every single one of our plant spots has several aspects that are controlled specific to that plant spot. It has water delivered 24/7. We do have methods where we can use a dry hydroponic method if we need it for the crop. That water is temperature controlled, normally between 68 and 70 degrees. Point of that being you want to keep your DO high and you want to keep your disease pressure down to have a good rhizome. That water is nutrient infused through a smart fertigation system. It is pH balanced using right now phosphoric acid. All that water 24/7 goes to our system in about 90 seconds. It turns over. The delta T is less than 1 degree from start to finish. So it's highly efficient, and we've gotten better. This is just in our current greenhouse. At the same time, we're providing air around that plant. That microclimate has air provided through 2 orifices on an air line that sits right next to that plant spot. They're on the side, it shoots to the side, and it shoots out front. And that air moves 24/7 under set pressures and set conditions. It creates a bubble roughly about 11 inches around that plant. That's what that plant exists in. That's where that plant grows and lives its entire life in our system. It's temperature controlled. Usually for lettuce, you're looking at somewhere around 75 degrees during the day and 65 at night if you really want a good diff, but you're managing a leaf temperature, so we pay close attention to that also. And it also is humidity controlled. We don't want to get too wet, as some people have alluded to earlier. That's going to give you disease. It's also going to, if you don't get disease, that VPD is really going to make it hard for your plant to grow if your humidity is out of whack. So we control that. And we inject CO2, something that not a lot of people can do, but we can. We want to bring that, and I think it's important. Lettuce being a lower value crop in the CEA industry still needs a lot of CO2. We could target 800 parts per million if we wanted to. But as soon as you start pumping CO2 into a greenhouse, you better know when the windows are open or you're just pumping money out the roof. So that's all part of our management process, and we perfected that and made it efficient enough so that those plants get everything they need right in that little microbiome. Not only is it efficient and effective, but it's sustainable. I'm not trying to manipulate a cubic acre of airspace with lots of motors and vents and heaters and all that. All I have to worry about is that little plant spot, and I control them all from the same control board at the same time. And it works. I was skeptical at first, as I am with everything. They'll tell you I'm the no man at work. But I like to say that I don't want to prove anybody wrong. I want to make sure we're all right. And we have to do that together again. And so we worked at it, and it was a learning curve. I'll never forget the first time I was there, I set my water temperature, and like the day later, everything was drooping. And I was like, oh shit, what happened here? And sure enough, that water temperature, there's a coefficient. You can't set it to what you want, because as it moves through, there's a level that it needs to be at so that you get the temperature out of the system, but it's not the set point of the actual chiller. And so that was learning curve. I had no idea. Jacques had to show me that. He still likes to tell that story also. But we got it figured out, and we've learned all these things, and we've made it a lot better. This is part of what makes that better. That smart climate control zone has been minimized. Think of the microchip industry, right? So we have taken everything we use, giant industrial chillers, giant boilers, heat exchangers, pumps, and everything else you can imagine, and put it into a small little box. We got better at it, we got efficient at it. Jacques and Eugene, along with some of our other team members, have found all the right answers, we think, for this iteration of our process. We're still looking for the better ways, but this is 1,000 times better than what we were before. Our machine yard now takes up the length of our greenhouse, and that has been put into a 40-foot container. So as our greenhouse has gotten 50% larger, the operation and machine area of that has gotten, what is it? It's almost 100 times smaller, actually, is what it is. So it's been a huge improvement. This allows us to put up a greenhouse that you need in your area, in your climate, glass, poly, whatever you want to do. Maybe you want to grow indoor. We can support you on that. These vines work the same indoor as they do in a greenhouse. But we can set up that area for your climate, what works best for you, and then just stroll up and plug in our little box, and the climate's yours. It's a really great system, and that MEP system is a marvel to me. It's not necessarily new technology, but it's a great, smart, new use of all the technologies together, and sometimes that's even more innovative. So this is what you see when you walk in. This is one of our rows, our aisles. This is part of the nomenclature we fight about sometimes or discuss. Our wall is called a row because they're numbered, and that's how we set up. And the space in between them is called an aisle. So we like to say you can walk down an aisle, you can't walk down a row in our greenhouse. But regardless, each one of those rows has 106 vines and 1,908 plant spots, and I have just over 100 of those in the greenhouse right now. There are several questions this may raise. I'm happy to answer any of those if I don't get to them here. We have a mobile light system, a newly patented mobile light system that we've been developing over the past couple months. Again, brainchild of the Van Buren brothers, and something that we brought together. I got there and we didn't have lights. I knew we needed lights. Most products in CEA, you can get somewhere near a 1-to-1 ratio, right? The amount of light you put in and the amount of yield you get, specifically in fruiting crops. And with lettuce, it's no different. You need a certain amount of light to control your morphology, your color, and your production. Now, we had all this sunlight, but we get what you would call a Stonehenge effect, or with that aisle would break down. So as that sun goes over, you know, that sun is just going down that aisle of direct sunlight for maybe 11, 12, 15 minutes a day, that one area gets that much light. And then you get this other lighting, this filtered light throughout the rest of the day. And in the summer, it's great. Anybody who grows around here knows that we get plenty of light, over 17 DLI on a yearly average here to grow lettuce. But we put a bunch of stuff in the way because we wanted more plants. And so we had to figure out a way to get the light to the plants. So we started with some top light trials. And we put in 5 different brands of top lights. And it worked. The idea was to limit the variability, right? If I'm getting a 12-ounce head here and a 2-ounce head here, that doesn't do me very much good. That inconsistency doesn't help me, and I can't predict anything. I'm not providing all my customers with the same thing. But if I can shrink that a little bit, I will. So the top lights we knew wasn't the end-all, save-all answer, but we knew it was definitely a way to get there. So we wanted to improve our consistency. So by putting in these top lights, we ran trials for 6 months, I guess. So just about 5 different trial runs of produce through those lights. And we were able to improve our consistency dramatically and shrink that variability by almost 65%. And so now we were getting a 10-ounce plant at the top and maybe a 7-ounce plant at the bottom. So that was a big step in the right direction. If you're going to do leafy greens or bulk lettuce, that works out really well. But if you're going to do head lettuce, that isn't going to always be the answer, because your head lettuce has to be a certain morphology, shape, and weight, and you want everyone to be the same. So we had to do something else, and that's where our mobile light system came in. In a nutshell, it works with the sun smart down our aisles. As the sun comes up and the lights are here, that light from the sun, that those long wavelengths and that less intense light is trying to get through our greenhouse, and it's getting blocked by that front wall and all the other plants. So my lights are here, and they're covering an area of about 8 to 10 feet of an 18-foot vine. So they're going to get some supplemental lighting there. As that sun moves up, that light's going to move down. So as they're getting more light at the top, we want to take away that supplemental light so we're not burning things, providing too much light, but still giving enough light to the plants at the bottom. It's been a long ride trying to get this right, and we think we're there right now. We will have the first fully automated active system of this by the end of the year. So we're really excited about that. Not only picking up the lights, picking up the sensors, picking up the motors, and working with all these people who think we're absolutely crazy because their machine doesn't do that, their light doesn't do that. Brian is my salesman. He thought I was crazy, he still does. But he's going to sell me lights anyway. So, but anyway, that's part of the innovation and the things that we have to come up with to make this work in a greenhouse. And we're excited to do it. Most of this other stuff I've hit on already. You can go on our website. Our website is great. I don't want to load this tour right now. I tried to do it earlier. It was a little slow with the connection. So, but it is a virtual tour. You can see all these highlights, things that I've talked about. Look down an aisle, look around the entire greenhouse. It's pretty clean, I think. You know, and you'll see the plants in their natural habitat in our greenhouse. It is a perpetual harvest, meaning that you're going to see plants that are 1 week old and plants that are 6 weeks old, and you should see that wave, that walking lettuce move through the greenhouse. That's how it's supposed to work. So please go visit our website and check out this virtual tour. If you don't do anything else on there, check out the virtual tour. And now I've fulfilled my marketing director's requests. That's good. Here's part of our modular layout. We want to be able to put these greenhouses anywhere, and we want to be able to sell it on sustainability and production, like I've been mentioning already. Some of these numbers, I've said already, some have not. It says 11 to 13 harvest. That's highly dependent on your crop schedule and your crop. That's a very conservative number for how many times we can turn this over. And then the servings is normally by a couple ounces per person. And then the jobs, 30 full-time jobs. We want to automate, but we don't want to take the people away from the plant. That's something we don't want to do. Plants need people. My favorite proverb is, best fertilizer is the footsteps of the farmer. And I will stand by that until I'm done. And I think you need that. But you also need some help. And you need to be efficient, you need to be able to sell your product. So that automation comes into play, but we're always going to have people out there with our plants. We're always going to have people looking at the data, helping make decisions, listening to our plants with the help of Lewis in the back, and working with them to provide good healthy produce. The 31 acres of land is based off lettuce. That's also variable. You can put lettuce a lot of different densities when you do it in the field, but that's a good average number. And then that wasted food is a very real number, and I've seen that firsthand. If they miss a cut, they drop something, it just stays there in the field. That's not even counting what you lose on the truck on the way there. All those sustainability numbers, we've seen those before. They're pretty widely known in the industry. I've been part of a lot of talks, conferences, webinars where it's always this much less, this much less, this much less. This is the first place I've been where I actually believe that. Not that I didn't believe it at Gotham or with my other startup companies, but I know it. I'm hands-on here. I've tested the data. I don't like to be a part of something that I can't back up. And so I know this works, and I know it works well. And then there's Eddie. Eddie is our fearless CEO and our great leader. He is out there all the time. He has 1,000 podcasts that he's done. He's very involved in the business world. One of the few people you'll meet that started a company, sold a company, bought it back, sold it again for another profit, and then decided he wanted to come run a greenhouse company. So we're lucky to have him. He's also part of the board for the agriculture department at A&M and an A&M grad. So he was very happy to be a part of this. That is the end of this slideshow. I'm happy to answer questions. I have another show after this. So you can hold me. Go ahead, sir.
You use phosphoric acid as the reason that acid.
I've been through 3 different acids.
Repeat the question for the online audience.
Sure, go ahead. So the question was, why did we choose phosphoric acid? And it's a good one. I had been a fan of nitric acid before. Nitric acid is a little more dangerous, a little more caustic. We are lucky enough in Cleburne to have a manufacturing plant, a chemical mixer, commercial chemical mixer down the road from us. So I have a little more flexibility